Welcome back for another edition of This Week in Bodybuilding presented by TitanMedicalCenter.com. The death of John Meadows hit all of us like a ton of bricks. Nobody could have anticipated it, and I'm still having a lot of trouble processing it. I first saw the post on PJ Brown's wall, and I looked everywhere for more posts and couldn't find any. And then RX and MD and, Digital Muscle, the various websites, Evolution of Bodybuilding, big websites, started reporting the news. And I thought back to an interview that I did with John. I believe it was at the 2014 Mike Francois. And, I've done a lot of interviews. And I've interviewed, Mr. Olympias and movie stars and just really all walks. And I remember being extremely intimidated to interview him because I just, he had such a wealth of knowledge and, nutrition, yes, but that does not do his understanding of nutrition justice. It wasn't just nutrition. He knew macros, processed versus unprocessed. Like, he just knew, like, it was like nutrition on a whole different level. Training, supplementation, which he didn't talk a lot about for obvious reasons, but he knew so much. And I don't mean just gear, I mean all supplements and how they coexist, and SARMs and exotics that no one's ever heard of, but he wasn't loud about it. He wasn't loud. He wasn't trying to be the Dan Duchaine of his era. He wasn't trying to be anybody. He was just trying to relay the knowledge that he gathered in a way that was understandable, and tried to help a lot of people. His clients, never heard a single bad word from a John Meadows client, ever. And, I said to myself, I remember I walked by him and I said, hey, can we do an interview? He's like, of course. This is before he had turned pro, long before. And, or maybe not long before, but it felt like, it was like this mountain. When he talked about it, it felt like this mountain. He was just like in the valleys, and he was just like looking at this mountaintop, and he was like, I'm gonna get there. And it's probably a lot closer than he thought, but like I said, the guy wasn't arrogant, the guy wasn't conceited. And I walked by him and I said, hey, let's do an interview or something like that, because I was nervous as F, because like I said, he's like a really big deal, And so I walked by him and I said, okay, so I've already asked him. So now if it doesn't happen, it's okay because I've at least asked. I was like thinking I've covered my bases, but I really didn't want to interview him because I was like very intimidated. And then I think it was like the night show. I walked right by him in the same exact spot, and he was there, and then we just did it, and it was really good because it's on. I'm gonna link it to this video, but. I had initially thought, like a minute and a half. It was a very, very fast interview. And I don't know how long it went. Actually, I haven't even gone back to watch it in a long time. And I think I might do that now. But I remember we talked about a lot of topics. And, my biggest fear, even when I prepare for an interview is asking a dumb question. And there are such a thing as dumb questions. There's a lot of dumb questions in the industry. But I never got the feeling like I asked one of those, and I thought it was a really good interview. And, I'd seen him many, many, many times after, because as you guys know, 2017, 18, and 19, I was heavily involved in contest coverage. So, I would see him a lot. The last time I saw him actually was in 2020 at the Olympia in Orlando, Florida. And he was very nice. And, he would always like, we weren't friends, I'm not going to lie. I would like to lie and say that we were. I wish we were, but it's just we were in completely different circles. But we're definitely acquaintances. He definitely knew who I was. I more than definitely knew who he was. And we had some good conversations. Although I have to say the interview, like when you do an interview, it's a very, very deep connection. Everybody that I've ever interviewed, I have that, because you think about it, like you're talking to somebody in the frame of like 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 10, 20, whatever it is, but like it's you and that person, and you're talking about perspectives and life experiences and life goals, and these are like really more than interviews, are almost like very deep conversations that you have with somebody, and you don't really have those with just. I mean, you could really be someone's fan, and you can meet them, and you can like almost like DM back and forth. I'm not downplaying that, but when you interview somebody, it's so much deeper. And so, anyways, I'll always have that interview. So I'm very happy about that, and I'm very happy that I was able to know the guy on the level that I did, which was, like I said, very short and distant and whatnot, but still, I was able to see the great work that he did. Granted, supplements, that was his baby, and it wasn't a money making machine alone. He was also reinvesting into the shows and sponsoring shows and having booths and giving back to the community. And I often say that there are people in our industry that are just here temporarily. It's like it's like a stop. It's like, think of like a subway line from New York or Chicago or whatnot, and bodybuilding is one of the many stops on their route. Whereas John, this was home. Bodybuilding was home. Coaching, competing, covering. He was a writer. He's putting out content. He was in demand by all the major bodybuilding news outlets. They all wanted him. They all wanted to talk to him. And I can't say enough good things about the guy. And such an untimely death. I mean, you're young, very young, and despite all of the hurdles that health put in his way, he got his pro card. He got good placings, and I mean everything that he set himself up for a goal as he reached, and he did so in a way where he didn't burn people. He didn't have this negative cloud over his head. He wasn't loud and outspoken and arrogant to the point of people finding him pompous, But he knew so much, and he had lived so much that he could have been like, bigger than sliced bread or whatever. But he chose his path, and you got to respect the guy for that. Like, when a guy is like, gonna make it his way, and makes it his way, I mean, I think that's success. I mean, without a doubt, that's success. So, and my gosh, his physique. I mean, you're talking about some grainy, shredded muscle, and a guy who, had no problem suffering, and probably suffered more than most. And what's even more hardcore about the way that he suffered and how much he suffered is that he suffered in silence. Again, not loud, not making headlines, not being negative. It's just like, man, it's hard to do these because it's like, we have lost a lot of bodybuilders. We have lost a lot of great champions, but John, the Mountain Dog, to me, it's like it's like losing Rich Piana, or losing Dallas McCarr. It's a really big loss for bodybuilding, a really big loss, and that's and the thing is, we don't know what he passed from. There's speculation it might be heart related, pulmonary, because of issues in the past. Others are saying natural causes. It doesn't ultimately, it doesn't matter how he passes. It's that he passed, and my hope is that because he passed in his sleep, is that he felt no pain, which is honestly the best way to go. And even that phrase, to go, like, he's here with us, like, his body has gone, but his spirit lives on, and I really mean that. I mean, look at how, Rich Piana is. Everybody talks about Rich Piana. Dallas McCarr, everybody talks about him. Or you go back in time, Mike Menser, he's talked about all the time. Go farther back. I mean, it's the legends. I really don't mean to sound cliche. I really don't. But legends never die, and that's just the fact. They just never do. So he's with us, but we have lost him, and it's sad. And I'm for me, it's difficult as a journalist as well, because there are not a lot of people like John Meadows, that are real, that live it, that are not, about smoke and puffery and just trying to, like, create content In other words, I don't like fake people. I don't. So, as a fan of John Meadows, I'm very, very saddened by his passing. As a journalist in the sport of bodybuilding, at whatever level you may think I'm at, it's very depressing because he was a great role model for his fans. And the John Meadow that you saw on camera, at expos, at bodybuilding shows, or just if you were to bump into him in town, was the same John Meadows, inside and out. And that as well, I mean, you've got to respect the hell out of that. So I'm going to leave it at that. I had originally planned to do 2 episodes this week of TWIB, and because of Tampa, and now that's like the farthest thing from my mind. I want to make sure that this tribute is as heartfelt and sincere as possible, and so that's why I just said what I was thinking. I didn't, I probably could have said what I had to say in a minute or two, and that might have done better on YouTube or whatnot. But in the sense of people don't want to hear you talk and talk and talk, but I wanted it to be as sincere and heartfelt as possible. I wanted to say everything I was thinking and feeling, and I also wanted to wait because, like I said, I think PJ was the first one that put out the news that John had passed. The first one. I looked at everybody's pages. I mean, I looked at least 50 pages, and I was almost to the point where I was thinking, I hope this news is not true. And then, of course, all the media outlets came out with it, and it was confirmed. But I didn't, I would never do a video like so many others did, like a race to see who got the first video out. I will never do that. And This Week in Bodybuilding will never do that. And I wanted to wait a full 24 hours and let all those people get their clickbait and get their hits and whatever else they, because I do think that it's kind of Instagram posts, Facebook posts, that kind of thing, I think is heartfelt and sincere. But racing to put out videos, I think that's. I'm not gonna say what I think that is. I think you guys, if you can read my body language, you'll know. And if you can't, you can't. But I'm not a. I'll just leave it at that. But I wanted to wait a full 24 hours, and yeah, it's a big loss, a very, very big loss for the media, for the sport, for the fans. But like I said, his legacy will live on. I hope people continue to buy his supplements. I hope people continue to follow his teachings and just really live on the way that he would have lived on, doing bodybuilding the smart way, eating correctly, being smart about your supplements, smart about your training, and not, trying to burn people to get famous, like this was a very, very positive guy. This was not a shit talker. This guy was not out there trying to start feuds. This guy was not up in everybody's business. This guy was not a petty person. This guy was a sincere, straight up, like true bodybuilding champion, pioneer, promoter. I mean, this guy was the real deal. This guy was the real deal. And he will be missed. This is Christian Duke signing out for This Week in Bodybuilding, presented by TitanMedicalCenter.com.